My coworker spent months sabotaging my project. The proof I revealed at the company meeting left everyone stunned. Hey Reddit. For months, I had this nagging feeling that something wasn't right. I work as a project manager at a mid-sized tech company, and I take a lot of pride in my work. I lead a team that had been working tirelessly on an important software upgrade for one of our biggest clients. This wasn't just another assignment. This was a career-defining project, the kind of thing that could lead to a big promotion or at least solidify my reputation in the company. But no matter how hard we worked, things kept going wrong. Deadlines were constantly missed, key files were mysteriously deleted, and entire sections of our code had errors that weren't there the night before. It felt like I was losing my mind. At first, I thought it was just bad luck. Maybe my team was overworked. Maybe there was a communication issue. Maybe I had overlooked something crucial. But then it became too frequent, too precise. Every time we made progress, something would set us back. What made it worse was that management started questioning my leadership. They didn't say it outright, but I could see it in their faces during meetings. The raised eyebrows, the hesitant nods, the way they would listen but never quite look convinced when I assured them we were back on track. I was starting to look incompetent, and I knew that if this continued, my career could take a serious hit. That's when I decided to pay closer attention. I started keeping detailed logs of our progress, saving backup copies of everything, and even staying late at the office just to observe. And that's when I noticed something strange. My coworker, Brian, always seemed to be around when things went wrong. He wasn't even on my team. He worked in a different department, but he had access to some of our shared resources. At first, I brushed it off as a coincidence. But then I started going through old emails and Slack messages, and I realized something chilling. Every single delay, every error, every lost file seemed to happen right after Brian had some kind of interaction with our project. Brian and I had never really been close, but we had always been cordial. He was the kind of guy who could charm his way through anything, always cracking jokes, always the life of the party at office events. But I started thinking back to some of our conversations, and I realized he had a habit of subtly undermining me. If I mentioned a challenge I was facing, he'd make an offhand comment about how tough my job must be. If I talked about a recent success, he'd find a way to downplay it. It was small things I had never really paid attention to before. But looking at the bigger picture, it started to seem deliberate. I needed proof. Real, undeniable proof. So I set a trap. I created a fake project file, one that looked exactly like an important document but was actually useless. Then I placed it in a shared folder and waited. Sure enough, within 2 days, that file had been deleted. But that wasn't enough. I needed something concrete. So I took it a step further. I set up a document with hidden tracking, a system that would log every person who accessed or modified it. And just like I suspected, Brian's name popped up. But the real kicker? The timestamps. They lined up perfectly with the times our project had suffered setbacks. Armed with this information, I compiled everything, screenshots, timestamps, access logs, and brought it to my manager. I expected him to be shocked, but what I didn't expect was the expression on his face. It wasn't surprise, it was frustration, because he already knew, or at least he had suspected. Apparently, Brian had a history of causing problems, but he was so well-liked that people just looked the other way. I wasn't having it. I demanded a meeting, a full company-wide discussion where I could present my findings. I wanted everyone to know what had been happening. The day of the meeting arrived, and I could feel the tension in the room. Brian sat across from me, looking completely at ease, like he didn't have a care in the world. But that changed the moment I started my presentation. As I laid out every piece of evidence, his confident smirk started to fade. By the time I finished, the room was dead silent. Then, my manager turned to Brian and simply asked, "Do you have anything to say?" He stammered, tried to deny it, but the evidence was overwhelming. And then, in a moment I will never forget, he actually tried to shift the blame onto me. He claimed I was fabricating things, that I was just trying to cover for my own incompetence. But nobody was buying it. What happened next changed everything. As Brian scrambled to defend himself, his usual charm and confidence completely unraveled. He stammered through excuses, claiming I was framing him, that I had manipulated the data, that it was all some elaborate scheme to make him look bad. But the evidence I had presented was too airtight. Every file deletion, every tampered document, every suspicious access log was traced back to him. My manager didn't even need to say anything. The entire room could see the truth. Then something unexpected happened. One of my coworkers, Sarah, hesitated for a moment before clearing her throat. Actually, I think I need to say something. The entire room turned to her, and Brian's face went pale. She shifted nervously before continuing. I think Brian might have done something similar to my project last year. The air in the room changed. My manager's expression hardened. Another coworker, Mark, suddenly leaned forward. Wait, yeah, I had weird issues too when I was leading a project. Files disappearing, strange delays. I never had proof, but now that I think about it, it was like a dam had burst. One by one, people started recalling their own strange experiences, moments where their work had mysteriously gone wrong, always in ways that seemed minor at the time. The more people spoke up, the clearer it became. Brian had been sabotaging projects for years. He had been subtle, careful, always making sure there was just enough plausible deniability to avoid suspicion. But now, with everything laid out so clearly, there was no denying it. Brian tried to laugh it off, shaking his head like we were all being ridiculous. Come on, guys, seriously? This is a witch hunt. He turned to my manager, desperate now. You can't seriously believe this, right? My manager took a deep breath before responding. Brian, I don't just believe it, I know it. And honestly, I'm disappointed. You've been with this company for years. You had potential, but this is unacceptable. Silence. Then, in a low, strained voice, Brian muttered, I just wanted recognition. He swallowed hard, looking down at his hands. I've been here longer than any of you. I've watched people get promoted over me, watched my work get overlooked. I thought if I could make others stumble just a little, if I could make myself look better in comparison, maybe I'd finally get ahead. There it was. The truth, ugly and raw. I didn't feel sympathy for him, not after everything he had done, but I did feel a strange sense of relief. I had spent months second-guessing myself, wondering if I was imagining things, wondering if I was the problem. But I wasn't. And now, finally, everyone knew it. My manager didn't hesitate. Brian, we'll be conducting a full review of everything you've done here. But as of this moment, you're suspended. We'll be discussing your future with HR. Brian's jaw clenched, and for a moment, I thought he was going to fight it. But then he just let out a bitter laugh, shaking his head. Fine, he muttered, standing up. He didn't say another word as he grabbed his things and walked out. The meeting ended soon after, and as people filtered out, several of my coworkers came up to me. Some apologized for not noticing sooner. Others thanked me for exposing the truth. Sarah in particular looked especially shaken. I just can't believe he got away with it for so long, she murmured. People like him know how to stay under the radar, I replied. But eventually, the truth comes out. In the days that followed, HR launched a full investigation into Brian's actions. They found enough evidence of misconduct to terminate him immediately. It turned out he had sabotaged multiple projects over the years, always in subtle ways, always careful not to leave too much of a trail. But this time, he had been sloppy, and now he was gone. As for me, things finally started to turn around. With Brian no longer interfering, my team was able to complete our project successfully. The final product was met with praise, and my reputation, once on the brink of ruin, was fully restored. My manager even pulled me aside one day and said, "You handled this better than most people would have." That kind of persistence doesn't go unnoticed. A month later, I got a promotion. Brian wanted recognition. In the end, he got exactly what he deserved.